Once you launch the poll within Zoom, the students are asked to respond and they can submit their responses. As a presenter, you would be able to see the responses that people are putting in, and you will be able to share those results with the group at the end of when you finish the poll. You won't see individual students' names until after you've finished the Zoom, and then you can go and find out the individual students' responses. Now, you'll notice up here on the top of my screen, I have put up here around the Australian privacy principles considerations, and on this one it's not applicable because we are using the paid Zoom version and it is a diocesan supplied product. There are no considerations that need to be made in relation to Australia breaching or not breaching the Australian privacy principles. There is a link on the slideshow to show you how do I create a poll, which will take you to a document that teaches you how to create that poll. We aren't going to do that this morning because as participants in a Zoom, you can't create a poll.
Chris, I just made you the host, so if you've got it on your functionality, you may be able to do it, but it wasn't on when I set up the Zoom. So,
rightio, I'll see if I can find it. Got screens all over the place here.
it may or may not work because it's all down to the settings that are there when you create the Zoom.
Yeah, no, it's not there. That's okay. It is quite an easy function to use, and I hadn't used it before. I had set it up, but obviously because we're using somebody else's Zoom, it's not working for me. Anyway, that's issues with IT. Moving along. Some people would have gone to the Google Forms session last week that was run by Chris Fetcher. Within the Google Forms, you can turn those into Google quizzes, and I'm just going to demonstrate this one for you. So Wendy, if you wouldn't mind putting that link into the chat. And if people could actually go to that link, that would be really great. When you get to that bit.ly link, you should be able to see, I'm hoping that you can see on my screen now, how to add a form called adding decimals point under point. Can you do that? Can you see that, Wendy? Thanks, L Forsyth, for putting that bit.ly link in. So if I could get you to respond to that form, that would be really awesome. Thank you.
Do we have to have the correct answers, Chris?
No, you don't have to have the correct answers. Oops, sorry. All right, so there is an issue around I need to share the form properly, sorry. All right, if you refresh your form now, that should hopefully work for you. Excellent. There are people in there. Fantastic. So if you wouldn't mind completing that form. And I can see now that I have 5 responses in already. And as they're coming in, I'm getting on the response sheet, I'm getting a summary of the responses, and I can see where how people are going. So 12 out of 14 are correct on the first one, second one, third one, and then there's just the comments there. Now what I have done with this, what I can do with this is I can go to the individual responses, and if you were signing in, I would be able to then see who the person is that has actually put in that response, and I can see which students that I need to support, provide additional support. Now on this particular one down here on the saying the correct way to set out algorithms, because that's a short answer response, I need to manually grade that. Now I've put on, given it a 2 out of 2. I could have made it a 1 or whatever. I'm going to give that student a 2. I'm going to save. Now if you had signed in to get to the form, then this will send back to the individual an email to say what their results were on the test itself, or on the assessment itself. And they will get their summary that way. Now, back on my Google Slides. Thank you everyone for having a go at that. Okay, so I'm going to give you some time to just have a play in there, because I know that in the session with Chris, we actually didn't get a lot of time to play. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to have a go in there. So if you actually go to a browser. Okay, so Alison, I can see your question is, so how did the results go back to the students? In that particular form, because you are from all different places, I didn't actually collect your email addresses. I can set the form up to collect your email addresses, and when I do collect that, the form will automatically email the results back to the student, because they'll know which student is answered which, and when I put the information in, that will get back to them. Does that answer your question, I hope? So if you open a new Google form, so in another browser tab, if you just go in and type in form.new, a new Google form will open, and you can create your quiz. Or add a couple of questions, click the settings cog, turn it into a quiz. And then you need to go back and add your answers. And it's a fairly simple process. I'll leave you with that for 2 seconds. What I will do here though, is something that you can use with your students. So again, here I am. I'm saying that you've got 2 minutes, 3 minutes. So I'm going to put timer 3 minutes. And a timer will automatically start. I can put that up on my screen, and in 3 minutes that's going to go off, and we'll all come back together. So off you go, and feel free to have a play in forms. So all port, I'll organise the slides for now, yes, while you're playing. link I've just added is the link to the slides. So the question is, can you use pictures as the answer like in multiple choice? So where I had, when you add the answers in, yes, you can put in a picture instead of the text, I believe. So yes, if you put your mouse over the option answers in the multiple choice, at the very end, you'll find where it says add an image. So you can put the image in instead. Bring that screen over here. So here, you can see where it says add image. Okay, there's our timer. Okay, and we'll go back to our presentation. So the next tool I'm going to look at is Improve. And this has been around for a long time, but I do think that we have forgotten about Improve, or a lot of teachers have forgotten about Improve. Improve is provided to us by Education Services Australia, and everybody has, as a teacher, we all have access to Improve. Wendy, if you wouldn't mind putting that link. Oh, thank you so much. So Improve is a formative assessment tool that enables teachers to create tests in the online environment. It has some pre-made tests in there. You can make your own tests, and you can, when you're creating your own tests, you can add somebody else's questions, or you can add your own questions into there as well. Within Improve, you will find past NAPLAN tests. So on here, you will see that I have the link. When you click on the link, you need to go to login by ESA single sign-on. You choose the CENET logo, and then you will come up with a screen. Obviously, this screen is related to my diocese being Cairns. However, you will be able to, should be able to get in through your diocese and log in. Once you're in there, you will find a button that says New to Improve, and that will give you all of the instructions on what you can do within Improve. Now, go to here. So when you get to that link, you will find this screen, and as I said, it's login teacher, login by ESA SSO, CNET, and now I am in. Well, so I'm at my dashboard. Now what I can do in here is I can go into a class and I can create a class, manage my classes, manage my students. So I'm going to manage my classes first of all, and I have a Year 6 class that's here, and you'll see that I've added some students. I can continue to add new students individually. I can add existing students, so if they were within Improve from last year, I can add them back in. I can import students from a file or roll them over. So I'm just going to add a new student this way, and I'm going to give a name. Mail. I'm not adding an email address in here. I don't have to add an email address, and I've just added that. You'll see Dumbledore's come in and he has his own unique password. Obviously, I have to provide those passwords to my students. And within here, and when I'm managing students, this is where I actually assign them their tests that I've created. If I go back to my dashboard, you'll see I have some tests in progress. I have an unassigned test and I have all my tests. Now, in all my tests, these are tests that I have created. The test that I have in progress is one called Fun with English that I haven't created. It's somebody else's test. Where do I find tests? I find tests on the drop down. It says tests, and I can create a test, view my tests, and so on. Within questions, I can create a question, view my questions, and view other questions as well. So what I'm going to do now is just show you the test. This is where students come to log in and they click on take a test, and they would have to put in the test pin, which I find on my dashboard here. So here's my pin, and then they put in their password, and they need to remember that. Now, how do I get all of this to my students? It's quite easy. If I'm using Google Classroom, there's instructions I have created a materials part for my Google Classroom, and it tells them to go to the improve by clicking on the image below, select the login, and so on. The instructions are there. I've added the test pin, and of course, send me a message if you forgot your password. So the login to improve, the students can't log in to improve unless you have assigned them a test. Is improve preferred over using Google Forms? No, not necessarily. Different, I would use them for different purposes. Improve has pre-created tests in there, and if there's something that I find it could be easier to use. Thanks, Mark, for allowing access to that presentation. So the kids just click on this link and off they go. Now over here you'll see that this is an example of the test that a student is completing. So you can see that they've completed question 1, 2, 3, and they're up to question 4. If they want to, they can click on the 1 and they can go back and start that again. In here, you'll notice that this is question 4. Read Dale Richards. Clicking on that, that's actually a hyperlink in the program itself, and they get a piece of text to read. Then obviously these are comprehension questions related to that text. As they go through, I think it's about question 7, they come up to a different piece of text which is about amphibians, and there's some further questions around that. What the students do, once they've selected the answer, they actually have to fill out this bar at the bottom as well. How confident are you that your answer is correct? Now within there, so from there, within the program itself, I can go to my reports and I can get summary results, I can get class test results, or I can get results by students. So you can see that on that particular test, Hermione has scored 10 out of 10. She's got 100%, and she's managed to do it in 1 minute. Either she was very good at guessing, or this work was actually below her level of work. For Draco, he got 1 out of 10, and he took 2 minutes. Perhaps I need to work with Draco a bit more. And even with Dolores Umbridge, she has 9 out of 10, but it actually took her 8 minutes to actually complete the task. And that might be an appropriate time frame, or it might not be an appropriate time frame. And it's based on this that I can make decisions around how I can help my students.
Chris, a couple of questions.
Yep.
One from Mia. Does it improve allow for maths formulas to be added, so special characters and special formatting?
That's a very good question, and I haven't tested that, Mia. It might need to be added as an image.
And a question from Young, is there a time limit or lockdown function in Improve?
No, there's not. Just trying to find a screen. So if I go back into my Improve in here, and you'll see that I'm still signed in. If I go to my reports now, and I can do a test summary. The report was done yesterday. I can select an option. It's year 6. Select which particular test. It's that one. I can get a detailed report, or I can get a summary report. And hopefully it will work for me. So you can see that what they've done is a pre-test, and then this test actually has a post-test, which is the same test, and see how they improved. This is not the right report. That's okay. Then down further, you've got how did they go? They're the questions and how they went with those types of questions. If I go back to my reports and I go to the here again. And I get a graphical view of the report. So again, here we go. We can see where the students are at, 67%, and what they've done. It's a great functionality in there, and then I can download the report as a PDF if I wish to keep it. And I have linked that, what that looks like on the slides as well. Conscious of time. So there's another one that's a really good tool. There is so much set up in there already for you to use. Okay, so now this is going to be another challenge one. If I can get you to either, if you have another device, a mobile device, if you can go to the Kahoot app, or if you are on a device and you can open another browser, if you could go to www.kahoot.it, that would be really great. So when you get to that, you'll get to a screen that looks like this, and you'll be asked for a game pin. So now on my screen, you'll be able to see the game pin, and if you could enter that game pin, that would be wonderful as well. Thank you. So thanks, Mia. I can see you're in. Greg's in. So when you're using this with students, where they're putting their names in, you either, the suggestion is that you actually do use their first name, and if you've got 2 Johns in your classroom, which is always a chance, first name and first initial of their surname. If you're doing that, you're not going to be breaching any privacy conditions because you haven't got student data in there. So over on the side of my screen here, you can see that I have 30 players already in. So with this one, you actually have to be able to show the screen, this screen that you can see in front of me, to the students, because where you are in the game, so I'm just going to get myself in as a student. I'm in. When I hit play, this will start for you, but you will only have the 4 buttons that you can choose as answers to the question. You won't actually see the question stimulus on your screen. You'll have to see it through Zoom. So I'm going to click. We have 34 players. If there's nobody else coming in, I'm just going to click start so that we can play. You'll see that your screen is now going to get ready, and this is where you need to be able to flick between screens or have 2 tabs. So you've got your 4 colours. Lord. So, how many active cases of COVID-19 are there in Australia? Hit whichever you are, see how you're going. Okay, time is up, and I can see that there are 11 people who got that correct. Ready for the next question? I can't see who these people are because you're all in anonymously. Oh, just a name. I'm going to hit next. And now I've got the scoreboard. Well done, Alicia. Lisa, you've done well. Beck, you're getting there. Now you notice that while you people have all got it correct, there is different scoring, and that depends on the amount of time it has taken you to answer the question. So here's the next question. Time is up. Yay, 24 people got that correct. They are practicing social distancing. And Alicia is still out there. Okay. And of course, you could always discuss the questions and the answers with your students as you're working through this. Okay, so actually I only put 4 questions in. There are more questions on this game. So I'm just going to stop the game there and leave. And there's another tool that you could use. Within here, I have created an account myself using my CNS Catholic account, but my students don't need to create an account. There. So within Kahoots, you'll see that there is the link to the site to have a play, and this tool will need to be used during the video conferencing session on Zoom or Google Meet. All right, so again, under the Australian Privacy Principle considerations, no student information is entered as they access via a PIN. Students add their name as first name and first letter of surname. There is free, for the premium version is free until schools reopen. So that's available for you. And I'm not sure whether that schools reopen in Australia or schools reopen in the States. That would be an interesting one. So if you would like to have a go at setting up a Kahoot, I'll give you 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and I'll put the timer on. And it's off and running. In there, this is the link that you need to go and have a play at setting up a Kahoot. So somebody's asked in the question about said that there was a way of the questions being displayed on the student's screen and the students taking the quiz in their own time. Yes, that is available. It's not, I don't believe it's available in the premium version because I did have that option, but I elected not to use it. But it certainly was available to me when I was setting the Kahoot up. Okay, and there goes our timer. Sorry, I can't give you more time to play. All right, so our next tool is called Formative. And again, in here, students access via a PIN, and all we need to do to tell our students is add their name as the first name and first letter of their surname. So if you can click on the link b.socrative.com login student, you will be taken to a screen where you're asked to log in. The room name is Stratford 5015. When you hit join, you'll be asked to enter your name and first name and first letter of surname. So if you wouldn't mind heading off there, that would be great. And it will look something similar to that. Move that out of the road. Once you're in there, you will find that you've had a test assigned. So if you wouldn't mind having a go at that test. And I can see on my screen at the moment, these are the people that are in there. And so far, Amanda J has 20, so she started at question 2 and ignored question 1, 3 and 4. But you can go back and do those. And because I've put that up on the screen, no one's going to pick B, because they know that that's wrong. Now, I don't need to monitor this real time. I can just let this happen. And if I want to, I can click finish here, and that will close everybody out of the test and they won't be able to continue. So that World Facts quiz, I didn't set up, I'll be honest with you, I didn't set it up. I found it within the program and I added that to my class and I used that one instead. But I find all the time-saving measures you can these days. So, moving on, you can see on my screen here how this is collected. At the time when I took this screenshot, I was the only one who completed it. I completed 100% of the test. I got 2 questions wrong. Now, if this was a test around the world and we were going to be doing an inquiry in this area, I might need to give Christine a little bit of extra support. Within the program itself, once you've finished the test, you can actually create reports on a screen that looks like this, and you can see this button here where I've highlighted that you can actually save that directly to your My Drive. And if you're using Google Classroom, you could actually put it into the appropriate classroom file so that you've got all your records in the same place. So how do I get this to my students? Again, I created used materials to create the way my students can access by clicking on the link below into the room. Don't forget, only use your first name and first letter of your surname and giving them the link. So we have Socrative there. There's a link to Socrative. And I'm just conscious of time. Sorry, I will continue to move on rather than having a bit of a play with Socrative, but the link is there, and if you want to play while I'm continuing to show my screen, feel free to do so. So I have 2 other tools. One which was demonstrated yesterday in a session, which was a fantastic tool that I am now going to be using, which is called Pear Deck, and it turns your Google Slides into a presentation, into a formative assessment tool. You can add multiple choice, you can add short answer, you can add image questions and things. It's fantastic. Just to be aware though, the privacy policy of the site talks about that they assume that you've obtained verifiable parental consent in order to use student information. So before you actually connect your students to a Pear Deck, you would need to actually get that consent from the parents. The other one is QuizIz, and on QuizIz, the privacy policies of this site states that students can join games without creating an account, and there is also the ability to create accounts. Now, if the students create an account, the data is stored overseas. It's not a company that complies with the Australian privacy principles. So again, you would need to get parental consent to use that. I haven't set anything up with those. They're just some other tools to look at. And a third tool that you might like to explore is Flipgrid. And in the privacy policy of this site, it talks about grid owners provide consent for the collection of student personal information. So if you're giving student personal information through that, as the grid owner, again, you would need to obtain parent consent before you actually connect your students to a Flipgrid. The last tool I'm going to use is called Mentimeter. And in this one, the student information is entered as via a PIN. Again, there's no direct or through a direct link. And the student's name as their first name and first letter of their surname, so there's no issues around that. If I can get you to click on that link there, that's the direct link to the Mentimeter that I have set up this session. So within Mentimeter itself, you can see that I have two presentations set up. I can continue to add presentations. I am using the free one, and I find it at this point in time, and I find it very restrictive because there's only certain things that you can do in there. You can upgrade your subscription, and that's a choice you make if you want to do that. Within here, if we have people in, I'll just minimize out of that one. Oops. So once you're in, if you can answer the Mentimeter, if you can answer that, you'll be asked to which words would you use to describe today's session and so on, and I will put this up here, and you will be able to see my teacher view. Okay, so maybe this is not working properly for me. So I should be able to see what's happening. Here we go. No. Yes, this is the right one. So there you go. So somebody has put in 3 words already. I've got practical, informative, useful. And this actually then builds a word cloud as people are adding their information in. And then I can click on to the next question, and the rating of the questions comes up. So I can see what people are thinking about the session that I've presented. Again, with that one, I'll just moving along. With that one, again, I have put a link to this one in the class stream. which says end of day check-in. Here's my here voting Mentimeter, and I can see how my students have gone through the day. I can use it to create quizzes, etc. as well. However, in this particular case, it was just an end of session check-in to see how things were going. So, sorry about some of the technical issues in that session, but hopefully you have gained something from it. Back to you, Wendy.
There you go, unmuted, that might help. So thank you everyone. Thanks Chris for that really good use of IT tools. I know I learned some things, and from the comments a lot of other people did. I just want to let you know or remind you to go to the Summit website. There are a few more sessions on today, and the QR for the feedback form and the code is right there. I have put the feedback link onto the chat room as well. These are the sessions that are on for the rest of the day. Thank you everyone, and hopefully we'll see you in the other sessions. And Chris, thank you again, that was amazing, and I know there's a few things that I'm going to start using a little bit more of. Thank you everyone.
And thanks everyone for participating. The resources will be available soon, and yes, enjoy.